All right, what's going on YouTube? It is none other than your main man with the plan. It is SoraLifeStory, and we are here again with another video. It's a slide day. I hope you guys are having a great day. We're gonna get straight to it and straight to the point. And today, I'm just gonna give my off-the-cuff thoughts on the Nintendo Direct that we got yesterday. I don't have any specific thing that really stood out to me from the Direct. I'm just giving my thoughts on it, how I feel about the Direct, and talking more about the Nintendo and the Nintendo Switch 2. So just starting off, this was a very weird Direct format, at least for me. And the reason why it was a weird Direct format for me was because of the fact that the first part of it's actually two directs. The first part of the direct is a Mario 40th anniversary direct, and then the second part is the actual rest of the Nintendo Direct of what we're used to, par for the course. I'm gonna start off by saying there were a few things I did actually like about this direct, so I'm not someone that just thinks this direct was terrible, but I did have a lot of problems with it. But starting off with the good stuff, I thought that this was a it was kind of like a mixture of directs that we got early on in the past, and the more kind of straightforward, very quick, very directs we get these days. I did like that they spent just a little bit more time on some games, and I'm not saying they haven't done this in other directs, but I think they talked about some games just a little bit more. I really wish we could go back to just they did it with the first Switch U Direct back in April, and so I really wish we got more just developers talking about the games, and maybe even just like maybe even 2 minutes, 3 minutes of just a little bit more gameplay demos to explain games. I know some people don't like that because it slows down the pace, but I just feel like with these big directs, like hour-long directs, or even if if you could push it to like an hour and a half just to talk a little bit more about games, I think that would be great. And I know, yeah, you can do game specific directs with that, but sometimes it's just nice to have a little bit more extra information about a game. What are you doing with it? And just like how do developers feel about it? It's something for me. I know it's personally for me. So of course this doesn't have to happen, and Nintendo has been doing that with these little developer spotlights that they've done since the Switch 2 has dropped, and I really like those. However, I would like to have some of those indirects if they can. If they cannot, I would like to have those right after directs. Like, dude, give us some more of those direct developer thoughts on games. But I did like how they spent just the extra minute on a game. I actually like that. Some people, I know they don't. They like the quickness, they attention spans, things like that. I completely understand that. But me, I like when the developers spend time talking about their games, because it kind of is a way to generate hype. And I feel like because of the lack of that, there's a lot less hype with games because people don't know how the developers feel about their games. I think E3 and a lot of what we had with that was just being able to understand how developers feel about their games, and even getting to see developers play their games even if they suck at them. So there you go. So that was something I kind of liked. Another thing that I liked is, even though it was an hour, it did not feel like an hour. So that's what I'm saying. It's like they spent a little time with games, but it still felt pretty fast paced. Outside of that, that's about all I really had. I think this direct was a dud, and I'm gonna explain why. And this is why I'm talking about it here on YouTube. I'm not going on Twitter. Twitter is ridiculous. So many people are fanboys, a bunch of back and forth. Nobody really looks at things with an objective viewpoint. I think on Twitter, I think a lot of the discourse whenever you get on Twitter, it's always one side or the other. Which, hey, that's okay. Uh, but I think you have to look at things very objectively when it comes to video gaming, because video games are made by a bunch of people. Video games cover a lot of different art forms and things like that. And so video games is just a very nuanced topic. Video games will never be something that is just like, oh, it's just good or bad. Video games are one of the most opinionated art forms that we have. because it's very interactive. It's an interactive medium, and with it being that, how anyone interacts with a video game will be completely different. Even if it's a linear video game, how someone views that video game and experiences that video game is different for every person. So, with that being said, I felt like this direct one, it should have been flipped. I don't think the Mario 40th anniversary stuff should have been what started the direct. I understand that one of the biggest announcements, the Mario movie, its sequel, will be coming out spring next year with the Mario Galaxy movie. Okay, really cool. However, that could have been its own announcement, own little trailer outside of the direct. I don't think it was worth it to put in there. And I know when they announced the first Super Mario movie, they also did that in a Nintendo Direct. So I get it. But I think when they did that, wasn't that at the end? So that's what I'm saying. The Mario 40th anniversary stuff should have been at the end. I'm going to tell you why. It did not set the momentum off good. And I think that's why a lot of people have a problem with this Nintendo Direct. The momentum of it started very kind of slow, kind of boring. People expect to see Mario whenever we see a Nintendo Direct. That's fine. With that being said, the excitement for Mario isn't there unless it's something brand new. And with the Mario 40th anniversary, especially with it being 40 years of Mario starting today, you would think that we would see a lot more exciting things about Mario. We didn't get that here. Actually, we didn't. We got Mario Galaxy 1 plus 2, which is this whole thing. $80 for both of those games is insane. And it goes into the topic for me. I'm going to be rambling here a lot because I think Nintendo actually doesn't value their IP. That is a very controversial thing that I just said, and I understand that a lot of Nintendo people, if this video goes out there, it's gonna be something to hear. But I don't think Nintendo values their IP, and I'm gonna tell you why, guys. We know that Nintendo does not drop the prices on their games a lot and stuff like that, and people consider that them valuing their IP. I actually think Nintendo doesn't value their IP, because if they really valued their IP, they would make it to where their IP is as accessible as possible to be able to play. With the way that Nintendo goes about pricing these older games, these remasters and all those things like that, they make their games less accessible to people, which actually devalues the IP because less people get to experience these great games. You can say what you want about games going down in price and sales and all this stuff over the years. I think that shows a value of their IP because that corporation or that developer, that publisher, they want their game to get out there. And what I'm starting to notice is that with the cult-like Nintendo fan base and all those things like that, it actually takes away, it makes it so where less people get to enjoy this. You know what I'm saying? And I think that is a devaluing of the IP. And I say that with Mario Kart World. I say that with what's happening with another announcement here, which was Donkey Kong Bonanza and its DLC. DLC that is coming out not even, I think, like 2 months from release, which tells me it was cut content. And I can tell you why that was cut content, but we'll get to Donkey Kong Bonanza. I'm not going to talk about every single game here, but that is something else I want to talk about. Going back to the Mario anniversary stuff and the devaluing of IP. So $80 for both of those games. If you already own Mario Galaxy through the Super Mario 3D All-Stars, $40 for Mario Galaxy 2, essentially close to, if not the same price as Mario Galaxy 2 when it released. I don't find that as a bargain. That's just not. And I don't see a reason why you would buy it twice unless you want that physical. And even then, $80 for that physical is ridiculous. These are remasters of Wii games. The assets, it's literally just upscale, I'm telling you. And it looks great. Mario Galaxy looked great at 40p on the Wii. But the assets have barely, like, I looked at some of the character models and all this stuff like that. the price that you're paying for this, dude, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. I understand. It's great for Switch 1 players that we're even still getting this, because I'm still not upgrading. But it's not worth it, guys. It's not worth it. You would be absolutely setting a precedent by buying these remasters for this price and saying, wow, this is great. You're not getting the extra content that you're getting with this is not even worth it. And I just can't fathom how Nintendo thinks this paying, charging these prices for these things is actually better for them. I know that fanboys and shills are going to go out and buy this, but I don't understand how normal people will just continue to eat this up. Eventually, it's going to just price them out and they're not going to care about it. And that's something I'm talking about in an older video. Moving on. Mario Tennis Fever. Hey, more Mario Tennis. It actually looked pretty good. I thought it was cool, but it's not something that's like on my radar. I didn't even buy Mario Tennis Aces on Nintendo Switch 1. I played like its network test whenever they were doing that before, but I never even bought Tennis Aces. And that game, all the sports games, all of the Mario sports games on Switch, they all did this thing where they came out pretty bare bones, pretty lackluster. Once you finished all the single player content and just had multiplayer left, it wasn't really much. And then they updated them over time. I am kind of hoping that Mario Tennis Fever does not continue that trend. From what I can see so far, it looks pretty content rich, but Aces seemed pretty content rich as well, and then it released. And so I'm just hoping they don't continue that trend with these new sports game on Switch 2. I hope that they listen to a lot of the critical criticism that a lot of the sports games on Switch for the Mario franchise received, and that they don't continue that trend. I know it'll probably still get DLC, which is great, but the first bare bones game, it should not be bare bones. It should be content rich, especially with the development cost of these games and the time that the developers had between release of the last one. So we'll see what happens with that. Outside of that, also for the 40th Mario anniversary, we're getting a Nintendo Switch 2 edition of Super Mario Bros. Wonder. I never even bought it on Switch, so to each his own. It's coming with a bunch of multiplayer content. I guess that'll be cool, but it is what it is. I'm actually starting to despise Nintendo Switch 2 editions because it really just points out how much of the Switch 2 is more of a Switch Pro right now, which would have been fine if it came out in 2021 or 2022. It is not fine now. It is 2025. The Switch 2 had plenty of time to be a Switch 2. It needs to be more of a Switch 2, a continuation of this platform, and slowly dying off of the Switch 1. But with so many of these Switch 2 editions, literally just slightly upscale graphics and a little bit more content that really doesn't differentiate it too much from the Switch 1 version of the game, it's a waste. It is. Anyone buying these games new on Switch 2, you are experiencing a ripoff. Nintendo is charging you for buying the newer platform, and that's just not right. That extra content, honestly, it should be free. And those games that released at $60 should still be $60. That's just truth. And yeah, that's just what I have to say about that. Moving on. Okay, so getting into the actual direct, because even though this is still part of the 40th anniversary, Yoshi, the new Yoshi game, the Yoshi book game, whatever, looks pretty cool. I'm not really a huge fan of the Yoshi's games, but this looks more like a Yoshi's Island. It looks fun, looks great. I love how with each of these Yoshi games, since Yoshi's Crafted World and Yoshi's Woolly World, they've done these different art styles with Yoshi, and I think this current art style with the storybook is actually probably one of the best Yoshi art styles that they've done, and I hope they would kind of stick with it. So yeah, pretty cool. But we've gotten plenty of Yoshi games, kind of over it, not gonna lie, kind of over it. So there's that. moving on to the actual Nintendo Direct and just talking about things that really got to me, that were cool. I'm not gonna talk about everything here. Fire Emblem. I'm not gonna lie. I went back and rewatched the trailer for Fire Emblem, and guys, Fire Emblem actually looks pretty incredible. Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave. Now I'm not even the hugest Fire Emblem fan. I'm I keep up with a lot of the different characters that are introduced and such, but I don't really. I've never really played a Fire Emblem game fully. I do not own any of the Switch Fire Emblems. I don't need to lie to y'all. I don't need to try to act like I'm this. I love JRPGs and all this stuff like that. But I've never been a huge strategy game fan. The strategy game that I played the most that I still didn't finish was Valkyria Chronicles Remastered back on my PS4. I played it for hours and hours and I did not finish it, but I did really enjoy that game. And so I do want to eventually try to get into the Fire Emblem series. I do want to play at least three houses. I'm not really interested in Engaged. I love anime, but I felt Engaged went too anime for me. Maybe at some point, but I do want to at least try three houses at some point. Because for years I've heard so much good stuff about that game. So we'll see. And maybe eventually when I get a Switch 2, if it gets a Switch 2 patch, hopefully not a Switch 2 edition, I'll get to try it out. But yeah, no, Fortune's Weave looks great. I actually went back and rewatched the trailer. I saw that it was uploaded in 4K, so I watched it in 4K. Because originally I was watching the direct on my phone, and you know how that goes with cellular. If you're not on Wi-Fi, especially on YouTube, it'll play stuff at lower resolution. And I could tell you, my biggest thing with the Switch 2 actually has especially been with Nintendo's first party, and how I'm just not seeing them really take advantage of the Switch 2 like I thought they would. I will tell you, I've played a Switch 2 at a demo kiosk, so I'm not gonna act like they're just not at all. Mario Kart, Mario Kart World, I'm in the mix on it. I feel like between Mario Kart World and 8, it's like a toss up. I can't really argue that World is a huge drastic visual upgrade from it. It does look really good. I can tell that some of the visual assets and things like that are definitely better than 8, but it's a very negligible thing, because even the resolution bump is not full 4K, all those things like that. But I know that it looks good. Having 24 racers great, but it's just not happening with these Switch 2 exclusive games yet. Donkey Kong Bonanza is another one where it looks amazing, but even some of those textures in the game, it's like the game looks really crisp, and I'll give it that. And that's what I am loving about the Switch 2 compared to the Switch 1. Every game looks, if it's a Switch 2 game and it's made with Switch 2 in mind, it looks really crispy, and I'm loving that. I'm loving the higher resolutions. That's great, but resolution alone only helps visuals so much, which goes back to what I was saying about Mario Galaxy 1 and 2. While they do have the higher resolution, they do look sharper and they do look alias, they do look good. You can still tell that those are Wii games. But moving on from that, I really did enjoy seeing Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave. It could possibly be a sequel to Three Houses, so that kind of goes back to me wanting to play Three Houses. I love video games, guys, but as I get older, just time is crazy. That's why my video output jumps all over the place, but that's neither here nor there. Anyways, moving on. Resident Evil 9 Requiem. So as you can see, guys, I'm kind of just not doing this in any particular order. I'm just talking about the things that really interested me. Resident Evil 9 Requiem. Now, I'm very grateful that one, it's a native port, so I'm loving so far. This is so far, because we never know, guys. Later in the Switch 2 life cycle, I don't know how things are going to look. But so far, these third-party games are not running on the cloud, which is great. Resident Evil 9 Requiem, Resident Evil 8 Village, and Resident Evil 7 Biohazard all come to the Switch 2 native. It's going to be really nice to have those on the Nintendo platform native. And then Nintendo Switch already has a lot of Resident Evil classics. And so having all these Resident Evil games on Switch, just the Switch library, is pretty cool. I will say, I watched the RE9 trailer. Um, the trailer uploaded by Capcom and the trailer for the Switch 2. It's definitely running on the Switch 2, so they're not lying to us about how it looks. But man, the asset quality is definitely different. It is definitely different. You notice it. Now, all the assets are there. It is RE9 on the go on your TV. It's gonna look good, but it ain't gonna look great or amazing. Like, it's a night and day difference. And I can tell you, I'm looking forward to playing a game on my PS5 whenever I get a Switch 2 and possibly double dip. Uh, I'm not looking that forward to it because none of them are running 60 FPS either. They're all running 30. It's just, yeah, it's Resident Evil 9 Requiem. Looking forward to it, but that's just that. We got another trailer for Monster Hunter Stories 3. That's gonna be great. Not too much to say there. Dynasty Warriors Origins, another third-party port. It's nice to have, but it is what it is. Now, another one that I got to see, Dragon Quest VII Reimagined. It actually threw me off at first when I first saw it because the art style for 7 is kind of weird. This is actually the second remake of Dragon Quest VII, which is crazy. It is somehow surprising to me that Dragon Quest 8 or 9 have not received a HD remake, but Dragon Quest 7, which had a remake on the 3DS, is getting another remake. So, okay, it looks good. I actually would play it, and it's actually coming out on Nintendo Switch as well. So, Square is trying to get their bangs, you know what I'm saying? Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate is coming out in January, so that was a little bit of a okay. I thought it would probably come out this year, but no, it's coming out January. I don't really care to buy it on Switch 2. I'm not gonna lie. So whenever I get a Switch 2, as cool as it would be to have Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate on the go, I'm not too worried about it. And the thing about a lot of these games is they're playable on things like Steam Deck, Lenovo Legion Go, Asus ROG Ally, all these things. So they're already portable versions of these games, which will arguably run better than their Switch 2 counterparts. And so the excitement that I used to have for having a lot of these games on the go is not the same as it used to be when the Switch 1 was the primary product, or even when it was just Switch 1 and Steam Deck. You have so many ways to play a lot of these modern games on the go now that Nintendo just needs to understand it. Having that as that wow factor that it used to be, it's not there unless you are just diehard Nintendo. Nintendo is the only thing you play, or you're a fanboy. That's just the truth. I'm speaking truth in this because you have to understand the shift in the market. Now, these PC handhelds and all this stuff like that, yes, they are way more niche than the Switch. However, when it comes to the primary audience that Nintendo has, I'm going to tell you right now, even the casuals, even the people that just upgrade to the Switch 2 eventually, I don't think they're buying all these games. Someone like me, of course, I'd even be willing to double dip. I'd buy them on my PS5, play them there, and then buy them on my Switch 2, and then have them as that portable experience. But with the gaming landscape, it's actually kind of starting to get more annoying because, you also have to restart these games when you're playing them on a separate platform. And I kind of wish there was some save unification. That is one of the favorite things I love about Xbox with the Play Anywhere is that so many more games are getting this save unification where you can just play games anywhere, and you can play them on your portable Xbox, and you can play them on your Xbox, and you can play them on your PC, and you can carry all of your progress and all this stuff over. I freaking love that. And I wish that overall we could just have that. And I know we're already in the process of talking about things like exclusivity and what's going on there. And honestly, I'm getting to the point where I'm just not caring anymore. I'm feeling like Vegeta and I just didn't care anymore. But yeah, moving on, guys. Moving on. Talking about the Nintendo Direct, probably my most exciting thing was Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. It's actually coming out this year, which thank God in heaven that it is, because I'm so looking forward to Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. But guys, I'm going to tell you, one, with that just being the most exciting thing for me was like, okay, Samus on a bike. But two, this game is a Switch 1 game through and through. And the Switch 2 is not doing it any favors, because man, the higher resolution, with it being at 4K or at 1080p, 120 and all that stuff, you can really see that this is a game developed for Switch 1. A lot of people have been talking about how, it looks worse than some of the older showings, and I know it looks the same, guys. What it is just now people are really starting to see, especially with the Switch 2 edition, that this is a Nintendo Switch 1 game. And I kind of want to go on a tangent about that. I know this is one of my longer videos, guys, but I have to get straight to it and straight to the point. Guys, Metroid Prime 4 has been in development for a while. It's finally coming out, but it is made with the Switch 1 in mind. The Switch 2 edition is definitely going to be helping it out. We're definitely, the people that will be playing it on Switch 1, which will be me, we're gonna experience a worse version. We're gonna really see the game for how it was made. But the Switch 2, it makes the game look sharper and all that. But guys, this is a Switch 1 game, and it just has to be accepted. And it looks really good. It has some really great shots. But the fanboys and anyone that is thinking that this game was just gonna blow out of the water and really show the power of the Switch 2, I'm sorry, it is not. It is not. It is a Switch 1 game. It looks like a Switch 1 game. You can see it in the assets. No, it does not look any worse than it did. Only thing that we're noticing is we're seeing different lighting areas and stuff like that. And now people are starting to really see those Switch 1 assets come through. And there's only so much you can do when you have a game that's built for the Switch 1 and then you're making this Switch 2 edition. And it's a game that's supposed to be pushing more realistic visuals. This is just the cost that you see. There is only so much you can do. So, guys, Metroid Prime 4 looks amazing and I'm looking forward to it. But that's just the nature of the beast with this type of situation. That is just the nature of the beast. So, some other things. Going back to Donkey Kong and the Emerald Rush DLC. Guys, I'm just gonna tell you, it is a ripoff. That is cut content, and I'm gonna tell you why. I thought about this yesterday, and I really wanted to make this video yesterday, but this is why I made it today, so I could really think about it and really kind of understand where I was coming from. The reason why I feel like the Emerald Rush DLC is cut content, and I know for a fact it may be, is because, guys, if you think that this is the same team that made Super Mario Odyssey, and if you think back to Super Mario Odyssey, what happens in the post game of Mario Odyssey? Mario Odyssey has been out since 2017, so I'm gonna spoil it. So in the post game of Mario Odyssey, after you beat the game and after you go through the credits and all of that, you actually get to go to Peach's castle. You actually get to go to Peach's castle, and the whole outside of the castle is explorable, and you can like literally go to the top of it and all that. I can't remember if you could go inside of the castle, but I know the complete world and the outside of the castle is explorable, and you can find moons, everything. Like, it's actually, they made it in the game and they let it be explorable. This Emerald Rush with Donkey Kong and Pauline going to DK Island gives that same energy. It feels like this was supposed to be. I have not played Bonanza, so I don't know how the game ends. So don't start telling me spoilers and all this stuff like that. But this feels like that same thing of where you were supposed to finish the game, and then as a little Easter egg and like love letter for the fan that finished the game and was wondering why this game wasn't set in DK Island, you were supposed to get that island at the end of the game with the Emerald Rush, and you were supposed to be able to explore and all that. And I think what happened was Nintendo saw that at the end of development and they said, no, we're gonna sell that. Am I mad at them for it? No, they are a corporation. They want to make money. However, I am very disappointed by it because I just, from what we saw so far, it just looks like this was something that was supposed to be included in the game originally. And with how close it is releasing to the game, I just feel like it was definitely cut content. Now, moving on from that, there was a lot of Pokemon stuff. We got to see Pokemon Legends ZA again. I'm personally actually tired of seeing Pokemon Legends ZA. I feel like we've seen it too much. Like we've gotten plenty of footage, about the Switch 2 edition, all that. But then they had the audacity to announce DLC before the game is even out. They could have at least said this is in the pipeline, all this stuff like that. No. I think it's actually even day one DLC, which makes it even worse. Pokemon Legends ZA Mega Dimension. That really is like showing you guys. You gotta see. Nintendo is being extremely scummy, y'all. And I don't know where this transition happened. I'm assuming it happened between like 2021, 2022, when they knew they were ready to move on, but they have so much of the success of the Switch 1, and it is showing through and through. They are cocky. They are literally milking fans dry. And what can we do? Because they're eating it up. I'm not. I'm seeing through it. I'm seeing through all of it. But it's clear. They know what they can get away with, and they're trying to keep it up. So, okay, Nintendo. Then they got Pokemon Pokopia, which is like a Ditto, kind of Minecraft, kind of Dragon Quest Builder spinoff, whatever. All that being said, guys, wrapping up all my thoughts, because outside of that, there was nothing. Okay, no, I'm lying. I have a few more things. Fatal Frame 2, Crimson Butterfly remake. Guys, hype. I love the Fatal Frame series. Fatal Frame 2 is arguably one of the scariest and one of the best games in the series. So the fact that that is getting a remake, incredible. It looks pretty good on Switch 2, and it's great. Kirby Air Riders. I'm actually tired of seeing this game. As cool as it looks and as excited as I am for Kirby Air Riders, with that whole direct that we got, I thought that was more than enough. And what I'm actually tired of is the fact that this game is getting another direct. Okay. Moving along. Virtual Boy Nintendo Classics. I think it pretty much explains itself. I don't know how popular this will be. It comes with the Nintendo Switch expansion pass for the online. And I think that's already one. That's one case that's gonna get this not used. 2, it only works in handheld. 3, it requires an accessory. If you want the actual Virtual Boy like accessory that you can put your Switch or Switch 2 in, it is $100. And because they know that that is a high market, they made a Labo style cardboard attachment that would do the same thing, but it's way cheaper. It's $25, which for some cardboard is still kind of expensive. They should have just went with $20. I think that would have been fine, but that extra $5 just feels like they're like, we can squeeze a little bit extra, because look how much of a difference it is. $25 or $100. Okay, I don't know who wants to play Virtual Boy games in 2025, but whatever. The other thing was Tamagotchi Life. Looks cool. I actually like the Tamagotchi Life games, not for me to play them. I just love the content that people create with them. It's mostly hilarious, and so I'm looking forward to that. But outside of that, guys, that's really all I really had to talk about with the Nintendo Switch 2, or I guess the Nintendo Direct we got. Those are just my thoughts, guys. It was actually just overall a pretty disappointing piece, and the reason why it was disappointing is because this is not the Direct you need for a new system that just released. The system came out in June. It's now September. You're supposed to be lighting a fire, and this did not light a fire. This felt par for the course, and I'm wondering if part of that is because the Nintendo Switch 1 is still so alive in this. But no, we're not going to do that to the Nintendo Switch 1. The Nintendo Switch 1 was very successful. Nintendo has made it very clear they want it to be a 10-year system, so it's still got probably roughly 2 years of content still to come. But this did not sell me on a Switch 2, guys. It really didn't. If anything, it put me more in a place of like, I can really wait on this console. I can wait for a revision, or I can wait for it to possibly just get more content to play that is actually enticing to me. And yeah, there was no hype generating excitement here. It was just par for the course, and that is not good. That is why a lot of people are looking at this direct as bad, because this should have not been a par for the course direct. This should have been setting you up for the future to be like, look, this is what we got in for the pipeline for the Nintendo Switch 2, and get excited, get hype, because you have so much to look forward to with this platform. All this did for me was just show me that the Switch 2 is just a Switch Pro even more, which is something that I wanted. But being a OLED owner, going to a technically worse screen, and having more third party parity is cool, but I have a PlayStation 5, I have a gaming laptop. It's not really something that is doing it for me anymore, not, especially where I am in life right now. It's not really something that is as exciting as it was for the Nintendo Switch, because with the Nintendo Switch, you had to understand where we were coming from. We were coming from the Wii U. Nintendo had not received a lot of third party. And so having what we had with the Switch, and just the times have changed. It just is what it is. I still I still definitely plan on getting a Switch 2. I still want a Switch 2. I still think it's a cool platform. I love that it has that bigger screen. Love that it's 1080p. I still think the power of it for a Nintendo platform is pretty exciting to see what Nintendo will do with that. But overall, this did not sell me on it. If anything, it even makes me want to detract others from it, because I'm going to tell them that, hey, unless you game Nintendo, there's no reason to really buy this platform right now. All the third party stuff, you can play it better on the console you either already own, or you really want, like a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series, or whatever, a gaming PC that is good. But overall, it's just, it did not put me in a place of like, I really need a Switch 2. But those are just my off the cuff thoughts. I just want to say God bless you. Thank you guys for watching my videos. This is Sora Life Story. It's a slide day. God bless you. Peace.